Morning. Sorry, or afternoon, whenever you're watching it. Sorry I'm not here today. I will be back tomorrow, so what we're gonna do is do completing the square, which is the lesson we skipped in Unit 9, and we'll intro it today, and then come back tomorrow and actually learn the whole process. So hopefully today will get you, it's technically the end of completing the square. It's like how you actually solve for x. So we'll do that today, and then we'll do the full thing tomorrow. So at least you've seen part of it, okay? So let's just start with like a recall, whatever word it is, on how to solve for x in this situation. So we've seen this like a lot now that we are in Unit 9 or after Unit 9. Whenever we have an x squared and we need to solve for x, the opposite of squaring something is square rooting something. And we've done that a lot. So big thing with the answer, this is key for today and tomorrow as well. When you get your answer, x equals, you still have to put the plus or minus 6, okay? That's going to be key for today because that is how we're actually going to get our two answers. Today it's not going to be just plus or minus one number, because if you kind of look ahead here, we have more of a complex thing underneath the little 2, the square. So just keep that in mind, plus or minus, super important today. So if that was something you were forgetting on Unit 9 test, keep that in mind for today. Don't forget it, okay? So here we're just this is all your homework is gonna look like, is solving these little things. And this is like I said, the end step of completing the square. Once you complete the square, you'll get to something like this. So this is how we get our values of x. So as you see right here, x plus 2 is in parentheses with a squared on the outside, meaning the x plus 2 is stuck in there until you square root. You cannot just subtract 2 because think of it as stuck in a box. It's stuck in this box that's the parentheses with the squared, okay? So the first thing you have to do is square root both sides. Notice how I use the same number as before just to kind of show you some consistency here. When you square root both sides, your radical and your square is gone. So what we're left with on this left side here of the equal sign is x plus 2. Notice how nothing changes about x plus 2 except for now it's free. It's not in the parentheses and there's no squared. On the right side, we've done this before, square root of 36, you have to put plus or minus 6. Once again, very key concept for today because this is how we get our two answers. We are used to having two answers, but they used to just look like this. Now we have to actually solve two of them, okay? So what this looks like, let me make this a little bit shorter so we can split it off. You need to, at this point, do two different little equations, okay? So one of them is x plus 2 equals positive 6, that's the plus 6. And then the other one is x plus 2 equals negative 6. So these two together forms the plus or minus. So you have to do both. That's how we're going to get our two totally separate answers, okay? So solving that first one, the one on the left, subtract 2 on both sides. So x equals 6 minus 2, which is 4. There's 1. And then subtract 2 on both sides again, but now we have a different number we're working with. So be careful in your calculator if you're doing it. Or if you're doing mental math, make sure you're being careful with this. Negative 6 minus 2 is x equals negative 8, okay? So how you would put it in Go Formative is the x equals, you would type that, and then you would have just 4 comma negative 8. No spaces, just like we did last unit, okay? Cool? So two separate little equations that you have to solve. Let's try it one more time. We're actually going to do 2 first, because that's the normal one. These are 2 like special cases I'll walk you through. Number 2, pause it, try it on your own really quick, but I will also take you through it. First thing you have to do is square both sides because the x minus 4 is stuck in that box. So the square root and the square is both gone. So I would have x minus 4 equals plus or minus 7 because square root of 49 is 7. Here's right where we would split it and do x minus 4 equals positive 7 and x minus 4 equals negative 7. And then we solve both. So solving the left one, I would add 4 on both sides, which that's going to be consistent in each of them. It's really just, are we adding 4 to a positive 7 or a negative 7? Here on the left, it's the positive 7, so x equals positive 11. And then adding 4 over here on the right side, be careful with your addition, x equals negative 3, because negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. So what you would type into go formative, once again, is 11 comma negative 3. Cool? Yay. Okay, so we have two special cases. Those are the base ones. You'll have a lot of practice on the go formative with those types. These types, we just have a odd situation. So starting with number 1, some of you might recognize it. First thing you have to do, x plus 10 stuck in the box. So we got to square root both sides. When I go to square root, that's gone, so is the little 2. So I'm left with x plus 10. That's okay. However, think, can we do that? Can we have a negative inside a square root? No. Okay? That is, you cannot say that this answer is 8. It's a perfect square, but it's not 8. This, remember, is no real solutions. Or when you get to algebra 2, there is a situation where we have an answer, but it's not in this class. So this right here, you would type in no solutions. We've seen that before. You just have to keep reminding yourself you cannot square root a negative number. So if you do get that, it's no solutions. Last little part for today is what happens when I go to square root. So for number 3, x plus 1 needs to be freed. So square and square root are gone. I'm left with x plus 1 equals, but then we run into this situation that we haven't seen yet. This is not a perfect square, and some of you might be already like starting to kind of work through it. This happened a lot with the quadratic formula. If it's not a perfect square, oh no, you have to do some extra work. Yes, you have to factor tree this. But the answer to this one's nice because you actually don't have to do one little thing, so I'll show you. But square root of 24, we got to break it down. I'm going to do 3 and 8. 8 is 2 and 4, and 4 is 2 and 2. So review on factor tree, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. Anything that you break down disappears. The 2 is the only pair. So far when I'm writing my answer, it's plus or minus 2 on the outside, radical, and then whatever's left over. Notice how I have 2 numbers that are left over, 3 and 2. They get multiplied and stuck back inside the radical. Notice what I put right there. You better have that on your paper right now, okay? This is how we are going to have our 2 answers, because I'm not going to have you actually solve 2 of these problems. That's gross. You can't add or subtract 1 from 2 radical 6. So instead, for this one, we are going to treat it like one problem, but we have to keep our plus and minus in our answer, or else we will not have the correct answer. So solving for x here, I would subtract 1, okay? Don't get in the habit of doing 2 minus 1. You can't do that because this one does not have a radical 6. This one does. So what you have to do is literally write it, and you can move it down to your answer box because this is going to be your answer. This is crossed out. X equals, we're going to put the negative 1 out in front because it cannot combine with the 2, plus or minus 2 radical 6. And that is actually your go formative answer for that. You just cannot forget the plus or minus. So if you don't have a perfect square, this is a totally allowable answer, okay? Always put that number that you added or subtracted over out in front, just so that I don't have as many options to type in to go formative, okay? So that is really like the weirdest one you're going to see, but as long as you factor tree correctly, just follow this problem and you will be A-okay. All right, so I will see you tomorrow. There's a go formative. Make sure you're practicing this because, again, this is directly related to what you will see tomorrow. All right, so I will see you. Have a good one. Be nice to the sub. And, yeah, I miss you guys.